Okay, so over the past year, you have grown. You've grown pretty massively, right? You've grown in revenue, profit slash net, I guess.
Hmm.
Team, you've grown in team. You've grown in the number of systems that you're utilizing now in business. You've grown in lead sources, right?
Hmm.
With the several that you've added on over the last several months, which has been fun to
Hmm.
watch. Um, so what do you think? What do you think the biggest catalyst to that has been?
Um, I think it's being able to delegate to the team and having the team implement things. So when I started out, when I started out, I was the guy that did everything. I did the graphics, I did web design, I did it all. But now it's nice to have kind of built up the team to a point where I have the idea and I can hand it off to somebody else and they implement it and then I can review it. And that just allows us to like move faster and just keep moving faster and moving in the right directions. So
Well,
that's probably been the biggest. And then even with team, like breaking the team up into departments has been, instead of like a big pool of people, it's like everyone kind of has a department and that area of expertise. That's really helped as well because it makes it easier on who to give the task to.
yeah. So let's dig into that because one of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs have. I mean, you and I hang out in some of the similar circles, right? So we see people, we see them growing, and they hit these caps to their growth, very, very low ceilings, and because they've got egos, and this ego says, you know what, I can do all this shit a lot better than everybody else. Uh, so let's dig into that. I think one of the biggest challenges that people have is they don't understand either that they need somebody or how to find somebody or how to or they don't believe that if they get somebody they could manage them, right? That's a huge fear that I see with a lot of entrepreneurs. And also when we go higher and we go to the larger corporations, it's the exact same mentality. Like this does not change. It's inside of a human. It's not inside of an entrepreneur or a CEO or a COO or anything else. So how
Mhm.
do you go about, like, why don't you tell us about before you had a team, and then how did you make that transition into I'm going to get somebody?
The transition, like to start bringing someone on, I mean, it all started with customer support because at the start you do everything and you're doing customer support. And with customer support, there's a lot of negative when it comes to customer support. You might have one positive email and then you might have 100 negative emails. So the first step was getting someone to take care of that, to kind of be the filter between the customer and me, and taking care of all the little issues, downloads, refunds, all that stuff. And it started with that. And at the start, it was frustrating because I think all of us have that mentality. We can always do it better than anyone else. I mean, I always say, I can fire everybody and I can do it all myself, but I would just implode, and things would move even slower. So, trusting that one person and getting them to take care of customer support and then training them up and then reaching a point where they pretty much had it running smoothly and even better than me kind of introduced me to like, okay, wow, like what else can I get this person to do? And then it evolved into that. And then now my thinking is I can train anyone to do anything and be better than me. I think you have to have that mentality and being patient at the start, because I know that when I hire someone, a percentage of people aren't even going to make it to day one. I know after 1 week, a percentage of people are going to leave after 1 week, and I know a percentage of people are going to leave after 1 month. If I can get them to 3 months consistently moving upwards, we're in real good shape. If they get to 3 months, they'll stick. And if I can get 3 months of training into them, then
They're
we're
winning.
off. Oh, and then 6 months, they're. I mean, I call them, they're like Terminators. They're just they get into a department and they have their 10 to 12 tasks and they just do them. Just
And we should be real clear here because we're not just talk we're not we're talking about employees, we're talking about independent contractors, and we're talking about vendors. Like your company incorporates all of that to scale forward, right? Which is really cool. And one of the things that I've seen you do over the years is you have put systems in place to literally help train these people, right? So you create, whether it's an employee, independent contractor, or somebody out in another country who's doing stuff for you, you create videos and you create these streams of communication so that you can train somebody once, and then anytime you bring somebody else in around that department or that position, then you could go back to that same training.
Yes, I think I've done thousands of videos on training. So that's what they'll get. The, I find it just works easier if I do a little video and explain things because there's so many moving pieces and it prevents that back and forth email back and forth. So I find doing little videos and then I ask them to put it into a process, especially if it's something that we're going to do over and over again. And at the start, the team got very frustrated with it. Like, why do I need to waste this time typing things out? But then as the team kept growing and people moved from department to departments and we bring in new people, it makes it a lot easier when you're like, okay, this is how you take care of, this type of ticket. This is how you take care of chargebacks. This is how you take care of refunds. It just made things a lot easier and consistent across the board on what people are doing. So a lot of times I have like a crazy idea and I'll do a video and I kind of think out loud and we might get 50% of the steps and then they'll come back, I'll look it over, I'll do another video and I'll get the next 25% and then it goes back to them again and then I look at, so it's usually a back and forth about 3 times, but by the fourth time we got it down and then we just refine it, then we just keep going over and over that process and we look to see where gaps are and then associated with that process we'll have a number, we'll have stats, we'll have data.
Hey, so when we do this, we have our team build these systems for us, right? And they're usually written systems, and we do the exact same thing that you're doing. We go back and forth and we clean it and clean it and clean it, and then finally we get something which becomes this living, breathing document inside of our company. So anybody who needs to do a process, they can pull this document, I mean digital document most of the time, and
Mhm.
then they could follow it. And if anybody sees a way to improve upon it, they could submit that, to whoever's up ahead of them. We could test it, see if it works, and then that system gets updated, right? So it just keeps getting updated every single time we go through this. Is that similar to the way you guys handle it?
Yeah, yeah, it's similar, and then they'll take the videos I do and they'll embed it in the document. So we used to do Google Docs everywhere, and it worked fine, but then we reached a point where there's like thousands of them. So we put them in a platform called Process Street, and it's kind of like a process. It's like an organizer for processes. So every department has like a folder, and their processes are in there, and they'll type them all out, and then they'll embed some of my videos if I've done training for them, and then those processes always evolve, and then it's easier when you bring on someone new that you're like, okay, look over the processes first, and then we'll go through them in real life examples. And it just makes it easier because, as a business owner, you got so many things going on. Sometimes it's like, oh, are we doing this in the process? So it's nice to kind of jump into the process like, oh, we're not. Okay, let's add this step into it.
Yeah, and what I found, I mean, this is dating back a long time ago. What I found is that as soon as you're willing to give up a little bit of those reins and you start going through this creation of processes and allowing your team to do that, it unlocks so much of your mental bandwidth that you can forget so much of the small stuff, feeling confident that somebody else is taking ownership of it, and you are free to actually do some real thinking and do some, open some real doors to your company.
Yes, yeah.
That's a fun area.
Yeah, it's like a brain dump. Like, yeah, and I can't remember it all. And then it gets dumped into the process and then we keep going through the process over and over again. And then but then if it's a process that we stop, then we just stop the process and move on to something else. But it has helped a ton
Yeah.
a lot. And then one thing that we do is in order for you to get your performance review, you have to have all your processes typed out.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
that kind of encourage and motivates to get the processes done.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, so how often do you do performance reviews?
We will do like when they start 3 months, 6 months, year. So when
Mhm.
they start, as they commit to the company and demonstrate their value to the company, then after a year we'll do yearly reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do, you ever do anything over and above that? Like instead of just a review, do you do additional training? Like when you see somebody who you believe might have it inside of them to be a leader, do you do that, or do you have somebody in your team who does that?
A lot. I mean, this kind of goes to the process things. A lot of times the manager of the department will take care of the review, and then the manager will review it with me, and I okay it. That's so the whole review process is done by the manager, as opposed to me. I just get an update, and then I approve or don't approve, um, the recommendation. Um, what was your second question?
No, listen, I don't. What I want to move to, because you're talking about managers now, is let's talk about that, because to create a team of people is one thing, and that's wonderful, right? That's one aspect of it. But to create a team of people, which I think this is where a lot of people get mentally bogged down, is they think now they have to manage a team of people, and a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of executives, a lot of CEOs, although they think they're good managers, oftentimes when they have a lot of people asking them different questions in different departments, it overwhelms them, and it slows down their ability to be creative in their own position, right? However, when you go to the next level and you find somebody who can be a leader, a manager,
Yeah.
and then that person can locate people when you need more people on the team, can manage those people so that all the little emotional things that pop up or all the other little fires that pop up don't come directly to you,
Mhm.
and can keep them focused on the most important daily actions they need to take today to drive the company forward, right? So when we get somebody at that level who can handle that, that's amazing, that's impactful. So walk us through when that started to happen in your company.
Um, I mean, what we'll do, how we use, I kind of view my system as like a farm team. So everybody kind of comes into customer support. So everyone will do customer support, and then from customer support, you'll see different attributes and skills and interests and strengths come out of people. And then they'll stay in customer support for 6 months. That gives them a great idea of like understanding how the business works. And then now they have a good understanding of the business. Then they'll move into a different department depending on what their skill set is or strength. Like, are they super detailed oriented? Then they might be great at funnel testing. Are they good with numbers? Then they might be great with data. Are they good at writing? Then they might help with chargeback, fighting chargebacks. So then they kind of move into different departments, and then even when they move into the different departments, then you kind of see how they are with things when it comes to taking on responsibility, the number of errors they make, etc. And then they might move into the manager position of the department, because I mean I find people usually want to kind of keep growing and learning and doing different things. So we try to move people around every 6 months to a year because it benefits us if someone has a broad skill set. Because if someone leaves, if someone else has been cross trained, they can jump into it without any issues. Um, or if there's a big influx of customer support, since everyone can do it, everyone jumps into customer support and takes care of all the tickets. Now, the neat thing about it's reached a point where I'm not the one that identifies the assistant managers and the managers. The team has gotten to that point. So I've kind of moved more and more away from that, and the team takes care of it. but I mean, at the start, I helped out. All right, I kind of helped with the structure, and then you also kind of gave me, taught me a number of things. Instead of having like all the managers directing all their questions to me, now there is like one main person that they direct everything to, and then she meets with me on a weekly, bi-weekly basis and communicates with me. So I communicate with one person that that kind of is in contact with the whole team, and I get an update on a weekly, or I mean on a daily basis. We're in contact, but we'll meet on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. And then there was another thing that you taught me was, I mean, there was a number of contractors I had talked to at the start, and then we had never talked or had a meeting for like a year or two. And then you encouraged me to have like an hour meeting with them on a weekly basis or on a bi-weekly basis. And that helped out, a lot. It was a small thing, but it helped out a lot. Instead of just them getting video after video after video from me, we can get on the phone or on Skype and kind of work through things a lot faster. And then in between the meetings, kind of touch base on the projects, and that kind of helped as well.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
I have to meet with people.
Oh, we should talk a lot more about that when we get. We will talk more about that in a couple of minutes. I don't want to go off this train of thought, though, but I want to get into later on how you ended up flying out and meeting people as well, which was a huge
Yeah,
asset.
it
But
was awesome.
yeah, so I don't think anyone could really talk to me for too long without me going into a rant about relationships when it comes to team members and how that communication, whether going from email to video, great jump up. Going from video about answering a question to actual face to face Skype or Zoom kind of video where I could talk to you and you could see my emotions as we're talking, or going from that then to an actual, hey, come on into the office meeting, or let me come out to you, let's meet for lunch, let's meet for something, and we have a real brainstorm meeting. That connection, every time we could go to the next level in connection, it massively spills over into the rest of their life. And then they take that drive, they take that feeling of, wow, I'm part of this company now. Like I'm not just a vendor. So this is amazing. What do you think? What do you think? I wrote a bunch of questions over here. Before I go into that question, the you said something about not having all the questions come to you.
Yes.
Which I think is magic in so many different companies because it teaches this autonomous culture where people can seek answers, not just amongst themselves, not just to teach people how to think, but also to teach people how to work together as a team. So like in our organizations, our managers talk to each other. So the managers have manager meetings where they'll have all their questions, they'll have everything that has to happen. Instead of coming to me, they get together and they are their own now support network, which is tremendous. And it's wonderful to watch because it's like watching this entity transform to something that if you step out and take a vacation, you're kind of screwed, to this thing where you step out and take a vacation, you're out of their way and they're actually getting more done sometimes. So,
It's true. It's true.
yeah.
It's
Now, the one thing that you and I have spoken about, and I know that you don't do much yet, is the daily meetings. Like you do. Like, explain to me how your meetings run again.
uh, I set up a time with a person and then we
Are
meet
they
with.
right? Are they structured though? Are they like every day we'll meet at this time, or every week we'll meet at this
No,
time?
we never meet daily. We usually meet weekly or bi-weekly is what I'll meet. Um, I mean, the way I've structured my business is I don't have a ton of people that are like local.
Right.
And even the people that are local, I prefer that they work in another environment for 4 days and
Yeah.
then come to the office one day. That structure works best for me. Uh, I prefer to be by myself working.
I can understand that. I understand. I totally get that feeling.
So,
However, so we base all of our stuff, as you know, around meetings, and I get them all done in the morning, and meetings are done with our management team, and then the leaders can go back to their teams and have their meetings anytime during the day. But the more touch points we have with people, the greater their ability to communicate with us, like with me personally, without them creating this long list of questions that are not getting answered. Because
mhm,
what I've always found is that the weakest link in any growing organization is is a little obstacle. Is an obstacle like this usually. It's that freaking big to me or to somebody else on the team, but to the person that it's on their desk, it's like a fucking boulder, right? And
mhm.
they just can't move that one thing that might be holding them back from achieving all the other things they need to achieve that day to get the company to the next level and the next level and the next level. But if they have the ability to talk, whether it's to their manager, their department leader, to me, to somebody, and brainstorm, then somebody else is going to be able to take that rock off their desk with one phone call or one email or something, and it makes the company run much smoother.
Mhm,
Otherwise, it becomes frustrating.
mhm.
What do you think the biggest obstacle is that you have or have had with team?
Uh, Things have gone good of late. I'm trying to think. Um, I mean, it's always tough letting people go. I don't like that part. Um, I We've just gotten better with it. There are no problems.
Oh,
Like
that's wonderful.
I don't like it. It just gets better, and the team gets better. And I mean,
Yeah, so that's the outlook. That's the right outlook. So
yeah,
there's two people who watch this. One person would say, "Oh, if you don't have an obstacle, you don't if there's not a problem, then you're not pushing hard enough." Right? The other person looks at it and says, "Yeah, but with this mindset of did things just keep getting better, then it is always dripping down from there, and that's like a positive virus that goes into your team and it spreads throughout them, and they are now solution makers, which
mhm.
is a lot of fun."
I think the probably the biggest challenge is like when we bring on something completely brand new and it's dependent on me to bring it on. So let's say like what we've let's say we're doing a different marketing approach. What are projects that we um, let's say we're working on improving deliverability. And so the tough thing is like, you know, I have to, I'll bring in a consultant that helps him with email deliverability, and then they teach me, and then I have to teach the team. And so sometimes it's slow going on implementing those processes, and it's not a bad thing, but it's slow sometimes. But I know within 3 to 6 months we'll be running, and it'll be part of the process because you have people that are busy already and have their plates full, and then I'm like, well, we're going to add this step now, and now we're going to have add this step, and sometimes it takes time to bring it in and go through it a couple times till the process is refined, and then it's something that they do on a regular basis. So that can be challenging because I always think that like one is, I don't like the number one because like if you have one traffic source and then that traffic source vanishes, you're in trouble. Like, but if you have three traffic sources, one's a primary and a secondary, and the third one you're figuring out, you're fine. You're good. Even if primary goes down, you can lean on number two. You can go back to figuring out the primary, or you can work even harder on number three. I like that. I like that approach.
I think that's wonderful. Yeah, I'm going to give you an opportunity right now, which is going to make you laugh. Uh, you came up with an acronym, which I think is amazing to describe what you what you believe your title is. inside the company as far as your team goes, right? You want to do you need me to give you more,
I can
or do you
set it
already
up.
know what I'm talking about?
I can set it up. So, um, you know, I, so with my wife, we have different personalities. So there's a task that needs to be done, and it depends upon someone's level of urgency. And my level of urgency is always low. Like it's like, hey, it'll work out. While hers is high, so everything needs to get done right away. Now, the second thing that I do is I'm okay with everyone doing everything. I don't need to do. I don't need to do anything. I think it's best that my role and strength is being a master of empowerment, like empowering people to do things. I think that's great. I think it's wonderful if I can create a process and write it out on how to collect the garbages in the office and put the garbages out. I think that's awesome, and I think it's wonderful that someone can do it and do it better than me. When it comes to emails, I think it's wonderful training someone, spending months training them and empowering them to take care of all the email stuff. And so they take care of the email stuff. I jump in, review things on a weekly basis, review the data, provide some suggestions, but they continue on. And I'm totally happy with that. You know, and that those are the kind of the two things. Level of urgency, there's always, you know, what needs to get done now and what really can, wait. Like, hey, do Christmas cards need to be sent out second week in November? No one sends them out then. They can be sent out the second or third week of December. And then just empowering people. Like, I don't need to do it. I don't need to be. I don't.
So instead of Rick Kaselj, comma CEO, you're comma MOE.
Yeah, there you go. I like that acronym.
That's awesome. So let's talk about what that has brought into your life, because I forget if it was when we first met or what, a couple of months after that we had this conversation, and you said, "Oh my God, I just got back from this vacation. I forget how long it was. Let's say it was freaking 6 days long, 7 days long, whatever it was." And this was the first time that I was gone, and the team, I tried not to communicate that much with the team to see if they could handle it. Right? You remember that conversation?
Yeah.
And then I said, all right, Rick, so we have a job ahead of us right now. You got to get together with Carlene, your wife, and you got to schedule your next vacation, and it's got to be twice as long. And we got to see, and each time we have to take longer and longer vacations, and give your team access to you, but give them this list of rules that here's what you contact me for, right? It's got to be like a level 5 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 or whatever it is. And you've been able to go longer and longer and longer. You and I have seen each other in several different countries, right? Mm-hmm. And you're never working when I see you. You're never stressed. You kind of hang out. You and I, last time we hung out next to the pool, and you, myself, Carlene, we hung out next to the pool and just kind of spoke for a while.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no pressure about anything except do we have enough time to do this next thing before we go grab some dinner? That was it. There was no text after text after text with your team, which is wonderful.
It doesn't need to run through me. Everything doesn't need to run through me.
Yeah, because you're a mom. That's why.
So it's gone. It's worked out well. And I was going to comment, like that first time where I try to step back. I mean, step back from things when I went on holidays, like revenues went up. So it was kind of like, maybe I should get out of the way more.
Yeah, it almost always does. It almost always does. And here's why. Because people feel this sense of, I feel like he trusts us. And number two, I feel like I want to impress the boss. Mm-hmm. What can we do? Can we solve this without him being here? How's he going to react to that? And if you have a decent culture, which you are building a wonderful culture inside of your company, but if you have a good culture, then that's just natural for people to think that way. I mean, if you have a crappy culture and everybody's looking through the want ads every day to see what other jobs are out there, that's not what goes through their mind. Then what they see is, oh, the cat's away, the mice are going to play, kind of an attitude.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's take this to the next level with team real quick, and we'll talk about the big thing that you did this year. First
Mhm.
time you ever did it. Like you've been in business for years and years. You've
Mhm.
had teams for years and years.
Mhm.
And in one particular team of yours is a team of vendors, right? They're in a different country. They're in the Philippines, but it's a good sized team, and you've got managers there, and you've got a great setup. Yet you never met them.
No.
And the very first thing you and I spoke about when we started going down that dark rabbit hole was, hey, so we got to get you a plane ticket, get you out there so you can meet them, right? To have an annual meeting with your team, your very first annual meeting with this particular team.
Mhm.
Tell us about it, how it went, if it was worth it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've had team members in the Philippines, I think 7 or 8 years, and one person's been with me for 7 years, another person's been with me for 5, and then a bunch have been with me for 4. And I've never met them. And then even when we did our interviews, I don't think they weren't like face-to-face Skype meetings. Usually it was like a phone meeting. And all of them knew who I look like because of all the videos I do, but
Mhm.
I never really met them or knew what they looked knew what they looked like. So we organized it. It reached a point in the team and reached a size where it was like, you know what, it makes sense for me to go over to the Philippines and meet the team. And so we organized that. I mean, there's never a perfect time to go, so we just found maybe 10 days to go. It was a haul to get there, but I got there, and since the Philippines is so huge, we had like two meetings. We had one meeting in Davao, which is in the southern part of the Philippines, and then another meeting with the Manila group. So we had two meetings going that we did because they're spread out all over the country, and even some people had to fly in from different islands, and one person had to take like an 8-hour bus ride to get to the meetings. So it was really cool to have everyone in those two different meetings. And then I met with the one group, and it was really cool. They were amazing. They got shirts. They made shirts. So we all had exercises for injuries.com shirts. So the graphic designer on the team made these shirts, and then the project manager got them all made. So we all had shirts that we wore, and it was wonderful to meet them and get to know them as like people, and get to know them. What's important to them about their family. What stage they are in their lives. Are they, are they closer to retirement? Are they are their kids growing up? Where are they in what stage of their lives? And it was also nice to kind of have that was kind of conversations one on one, and then have a kind of a conversation with the whole group on, you know, where I envision the business going, and what my plans are, and where things are going. Like the joke is that Rick wants to have a small village of people in the Philippines working for exercises for injuries. And I'm like, I'm fine with that. That sounds great. That sounds great. So it was wonderful to meet them and meet the people that have been working for EFI for years, and got to know them. I talked about the company, and then we had some fun as well, for the Davao group. We went to like a nice beach resort, and um, had fun, like with water activities. And one thing they did was they did charades, and they did charades when it comes to the different products that I have. So what they would do was charades on the different products I have. And since I have so many products, a lot of the times I couldn't even remember what they were. So like 9 words, and it starts with it was really funny. Or they would they also had uh, like the transcribers, the team that transcribes all the videos, I have like a set routine that I do. So it was quite funny for them to do a skit and like imitate myself and how I talk, and it was
And
really
none of that, you didn't expect any of that.
no, I
You
didn't.
didn't
I
say
didn't. I
that
didn't
to them.
expect any of that. And they were absolutely wonderful. And then that was the Davo group. And then we went up and we met the Manila group, and they were absolutely wonderful as well. They had the shirts, and we loaded up in the van, and we had this like 3 hour van ride to this mountain resort, and we stayed at this mountain resort, and kind of the same thing. I got everyone kind of introduced themselves, and I got to know them a little bit better. And I talked about the company and answered any questions that they have, and what direction we're going, and what my goals are, and what my vision is, and what's going to happen what my plan is for the next 2 to 5 years. And then they had like organized games and what else? Oh, they in karaoke. They love karaoke. Absolutely love it, and it's incredible. They're really good at it. So they
Yeah.
got, and I'm a horrible singer, but I'm fine. I gave it a go, and it was really bad, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and you learn new things about people. Like one of the ladies was a pharmaceutical rep, so she would have to meet up with doctors and let them know about certain medications that she recommends. So what she would do was she would bring them into karaoke room, and she would sing. So she was like fantastic at karaoke, and it was incredible. So it was really neat. It was a lot of fun. It was great to kind of know them, get to know them, and answer any questions they have about the company. And I think it was good for them to know me as well. That sometimes in my videos, I'm kind of like straight to the point. It's kind of like there's no filler. It's really task
Yeah.
oriented. And they see me in the videos. I'm kind of like, easygoing, but try to be professional. But then they see me and they kind of realize that I'm kind of the way I am. I mean, the biggest fear that they were they're like, oh my, how is Rick going to come off the plane? Like, oh, is he going to be wearing a suit? Am I going to have to wear a suit? Is everyone going to have to wear suits? So that's what the biggest worry was. And then when I came out in like flip flops and shorts and my t-shirt, they were like ecstatic, like, oh, great. so, so, oh, good. We can wear our shirts then. Good.
So, so there's usually four parts to every annual meeting as far as my companies go. And in each one of our companies, we always do bonding, right? Because that annual meeting it is helpful in my experience to have a bonding section. We go over the updates, what's been going on so far, what our targets are, and then what our plan is. As a team, we create a plan. So, however, what's interesting is that the maturity of every company, where the company is in their growth curve, is really going to dictate how much of your time you've got to spend in each one of those four areas. There are some companies that you don't have to bond that much, like because everybody is in the exact same area every single day and they go out to dinner every once in a while, and they have birthday parties together. So the bonding aspect is not nearly as important, and that could be a few hours as opposed to a day. And then everything else might be just on here's what's happened so far, here's what our targets are, and now let's figure out our plan in order to get us to our targets.
Mm-hmm.
You, on the other hand, completely opposite end of the spectrum, where your team is so well organized, they already know what's going on. They had two questions, right? Can we bond?
Mm-hmm.
And what's a target, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that we as a team can push forward towards it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's wonderful. I
Mm-hmm.
love the story and the fact that you light up every time you tell me that story.
They were wonderful. They were wonderful people. They were loving and caring, and they wanted to know about me, and
Yeah,
they gave me gifts, and they were absolutely wonderful. I had a great time spending with them.
yeah.
And
So
then so like one of the ladies, she's been doing the emails for like 5 years. So it was funny to meet her. So and I'm like, oh wow, you're the person that, sends out millions of emails a month. It was like, wow, it's amazing that this like lady is like the email person in behind EFI. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow,
What an
cool.
important person.
Yeah. And you'd never know, you never know it. You never know it.
But one of the things that you're not saying is that you did like that. You saying, oh, they had T-shirts, they gave me gifts, they were wonderful with this, but you did a lot of prep prior to this meeting. Like you learned about your team, you learned about their culture, you learned about everything, so that when you showed up there, you you showed up there. And how do you say that? Like being able to express your feelings towards them the best way possible, right? Knowing that this particular culture is very family oriented was very easy to do
Hmm.
because you're also family oriented.
Hmm.
But no matter what your culture is inside of your organization, inside of that particular team, that's the way you handle that particular team because that the bonding will happen fastest like that. So, for example, if we've got a company that has a very strong sales department, the meetings we have with them is completely different than the meetings we have with anybody else in that particular company because they are strong-headed, driven. They think about one or two things. They have 4 or 5 movies that they love and they watch like every day to get them motivated before work. That's what they do, right? So we know them. So you prepped, which is important.
Yeah.
So the lesson here is you get the most. There was this annual meeting was extremely productive for the company,
Yes.
starting from your prep. You
Yes.
prepped. If you did not prep well and you showed up there in a suit and tie, or any other way that we could have made a mistake, then the bonding wouldn't have been automatic, right? You
Hmm.
would have had to work a lot harder for that, and it would have come across as fake.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, I mean, I did. I got all of their names and addresses because I wanted to see what different parts of the Philippines they're from. Because some people were like from like these small little islands of like a couple hundred people, and it was really neat to see that. And you could kind of you could let the person know that. And then like how many kids they have and how old they are and what other experiences they have because a lot of them come from different backgrounds to come work for the company. So they weren't necessarily just administrative stuff. They, like I said, the pharmaceutical rep, like nurse, PhD in philosophy, like there's all kinds of different backgrounds, which was really neat.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that
then
is.
understanding the culture and then the weather and what's kind of like acceptable and how they are and what they like the karaoke thing, like yeah.
So so the next gift you send to your team in the Philippines is going to be a karaoke machine with your logo on it. Is that what that's going to be? The way you think about it every single time.
You do that.
They would love it.
They would love it.
Okay, so let's talk about, let's just sum up what we're talking about here. From your recommendations of how to locate a team, how to build a team, how to organize that team, how to manage a team, how to create systems within that team. What do you believe if somebody is sitting there, they've got a successful company, but they know in order to grow to the next level, in order to go from just entrepreneur to CEO, they've got to become a better manager of people
Mhm.
because that truly is one of the hardest things for people to understand that in order to grow more, faster, stronger, I've just got to become a better people leader, right? No matter what level you're at, you become a little bit better. Your revenue, your net, the reach that you have with your company expands exponentially as soon as you become a better leader.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
final thoughts and tips on this.
I I think the number one thing is that you can train anyone to be better than you. Like, if you think you are the best at something, you can train someone to be better than you, which is so powerful to do. Now, I mean, looking at like where to get that team, I like the farm system model. Like, you bring someone in, you get them to start with, not the lowest level task, because customer support is like super important, but you get them to start off with maybe not the highest technical tasks, and you move up from there. So a lot of times with how I'll do things is I'll give someone like a really basic task to do, like filter out my email, go into the spam folder, follow this video, do this, this, and this, and you see how they do it. And if they don't do it well, you give them feedback. And if they do excellent, you give them a more complicated task. And next thing you know, in 3 to 6 months, they're doing all kinds of email stuff, or all kinds of something that's important in your business. So I think you can build up anyone to be better than you. And then where to get them? When it comes to over like in the Philippines, I mean, we used to use a company called onlinejobs.ph, and we post a job and we would get like 100 resumes and filter through them and hire them. But now the company's gone to a point where we just get internal recommendations. And the last hiring we did, it was we didn't even have to post anything. It was just people recommended people for the posting, and we didn't even have to post online for anything, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And I find, I don't know, I don't call myself a manager. I'm probably more of like the leader, and I give kind of feedback to the team. So the team will, they have daily tasks that they send or that I see, and I'll give feedback on and check on. And then a lot of it's like weekly data, and I'll look at things in the weekly data and give feedback, or work on trying to improve that data and try to help the direction of the department. So I don't know, like, I don't know. I don't view myself as the manager.
Dude, I think that the answer was phenomenal. So whether you think it was or not, you covered a lot of things. I loved it.
Well, let's see what else I can. And I find like if I can train, I mean, I can train anyone to do anything. If I can take something that's in my head and hand it off to someone else to worry about, then that frees up bandwidth for me to move on to something else. Because like where I'm at now, I view myself, a lot of what I do is like business development. Like, what are other traffic sources can we do? What are other partnerships can we do? What are other things that we can add to the company, or we should like test out? Like, is there a platform? So I kind of view that as my role. But as soon as I'm like, okay, we need to improve our Amazon presence. Well, I need to kind of give that to someone else to kind of work on and get better at, and better than me.
Mhm.
And I find when I can hand it off to a department or a person, then that frees me up to do more.
Yeah. Well, that's and it's working wonderfully for you. So
We're heading in the right direction.
very humble. Very humble. Okay, so where can people find out more about you and your company and what you do?
I mean, my
Exercise.
hub is exercisesforinjuries.com. So if you head there, you can see all the stuff that we do. So, I mean, you have the blog, which is a lot of written content. If you branch off that, you can see the YouTube channel on what we do. If you head over to the store, you can see the products that we do. And then if you get on the email list, you can see the email marketing that we do. And then you can take a look at like the live chats and the customer support. All that stuff is run by the team.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy just going, hey, this is Rick Kaselj from exercisesforinjuries.com.
And the guy managing the whole
I
thing.
do some of the videos, the team runs everything else, and we just keep branching and growing and getting better at things.
That's wonderful. Hey, I really appreciate your time today. This was terrific.
No
Thank you
worries.
so much.
Thank you.
All right.